Recording is in progress.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So we are back on our Thursday morning IGU Summit event. We are, this is currently week 43, coming from Toronto here. And as always, before we start these events, I do acknowledge those who came before us on this land. So I do say a land acknowledgement. So we do begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we're meeting here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on here is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We'd also thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. I do start as well each week just to indicate some of the events that are coming up. So next Wednesday is April 6th, International Day of Sport for Development and Peace. So this is an annual celebration of the power of sport to drive social change, community development, and to foster peace and understanding. It was created by the United Nations General Assembly on the 23rd of August 2015, and it's supported by the International Olympic Committee. I did put some links in the chat, including to UNESCO, the lead agency for physical education in sport. Also, next Thursday, and so I will be saying it again, is World Health Day. That's Thursday, April 7th, 2022. And that day is celebrated annually each year. It draws attention to a specific health topic of concern to people all over the world. So the date of 7th of April marks the anniversary of the founding of the World Health Organization in 1948. Again, in the chat, some links to find more information. So right now I will as well share my screen. And so we have a slideshow to start our day. So again, as always, I start the presentation by giving recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular Andrew Networks, which had replaced EdFood Foundation as our primary sponsor of the Global Unity Network weekly Thursday Zoom calls. Andrew Networks also rebroadcasting any production-ready episodes on the AHIABGA.org domain, being redirected to the UCIT-TV site. You'll also notice that our logo indicates that this is the 2021-23 IGU Summit event. We do plan to continue delivering these Saturday events until the end of 2023, again, in alignment with the UN Global Compact 2021-23 vision and strategy. So you will see logos on this page for the Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Future Lift Foundation, Global Peace Let's Talk, the American International Education Federation, the EdFood Foundation, the Conservancy Trust, the Saga Foundation, the LA Global Foundation, as well as our own logos for the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation, the Greater Unity Network, the Indigenous Unity Flag, the Unity 4K Clubs, the Heptamatrix Partnership Template of the Global Unity Business Group, and many more. So again, you will find a few links in the chat for you to follow and find those organizations who are on our call. I do mention as well Andrew Networks as our primary sponsor, supporting the promotional ecosystem for the Global Unity Network Initiative, which does continue again through to December 29th, 2023. It is Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. Andrew Networks being a brand and domain name owned by RXTC Export Trading Company, comprising the various social media channels, including TRN-TV, the Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. So Andrew Networks, you will find in the chat. Andrew did found the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019, with a focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs from 2020 to 2030. Andrew later appointed me as a representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and the Commonwealth of Nations countries, originally published on the 1st of January 2020. I was later appointed as a representative for Turtle Island in early 2021. Again, you will find the link to the ambassadors in the chat. So before I get too far, of course, I'll let you know who I am. I'm Lloyd Helferty, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and a Sustainable Society Consultant for Energyme University, which is headquartered in Manhattan, New York. I am, however, located in the city of Markham in the Greater Toronto Area in Southern Ontario, Canada. Energyme University is a private 501(c)(3) nonprofit company in New York City and a member of the UN Global Compact, United Nations Academic Impact Member and Partner. Energyme University is a virtual university created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. So Energyme does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, along with systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. So Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Importantly, Energyme University also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all of the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. Again, in the chat is my connections. I am also the co-founder and administrator of the We Energyme Global Cooperation, Turtle Island International Civil Society organization that is seeking to undertake what we call life value peace education in the context of what we call life learning gardens. You will find a link to this organization in the chat. I was also designated, as I said earlier, as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with a portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. As a member of this Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, we are seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as helping local communities establish what we call interfaith neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives that will help come together and pledge to support all of the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are localizing the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, while always seeking ways to leave no one behind. Again, in the chat, you will find more links to the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board and other organizations that I mentioned. Oops. So I am also a co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow what we call the Global Unity Network. The Global Unity Business Group is a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens along with a hybrid virtual learning platform we call the ECN, or the Interchange for Peace. The Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of globalization of the global goals, starting with the SDGs, which is being done by the establishment of the Global Unity Network, which so far includes the Unity Gardens Network, the Unity Learning Network, along with many other dedicated Unity networks, all being important components of what we call a network of networks. So it's important to note that the existing social media, WhatsApp and Facebook and LinkedIn groups that we're using right now are being used as a placeholder as we build our global network and prepare to launch, where we'll eventually get all of the people, companies, and nodes of our network onto this Interchange for Peace ECN, which will then be able to gain access to the many tools and services that are available there, where we can much more easily collaborate in order to locally implement all of the globally coordinated real-world events, projects, enterprises, and infrastructure. Again, in the chat are some links to the business group. As we move forward, the Global Unity Biz Network itself was created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs, those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm is focused on making money for those who are already wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation, often over-exploitation of people and the natural world, and therefore the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is thus on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by helping local communities deliver the various regenerative local enterprise solutions that people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies require in order to thrive. So as an entry point, we are focused in particular on those communities that are the most food insecure. So Global Unity Network is promoting the delivery of a suite of practical solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals. During this SDG period until 2030, we are focused on the tools of humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, and using hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training and learning programs, platforms, and curricula, with a primary focus on delivery of the various humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in these practical settings or practicum learning, along with leveraging the various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INABC teams to establish local collaborative open source Unity Garden classrooms in all of the local communities around the world. These Unity Garden classrooms are set up in collaboration with existing schools in local communities and can be used for the local and remote and virtual delivery of the practicum learning programs for all of our FFHE members, so they can learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity for themselves and for the people in their own local communities, and all people on all continents, with the intention and goal of leaving no one behind. So we also promote through this virtual social marketing all of the members of our network. We use all of the various practical social media, networking, and trade tools, including those of the modern fourth industrial revolution, combining the wisdom of the crowds with the deep indigenous knowledge, both our ancestors as well as the living indigenous people of this earth, in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we may live, in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity, ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. I am putting in the chat a link to our biodiversity network. So the Ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals is intended to help everyone in each of their own local communities to establish local teams of humanitarian entrepreneurs, as well as the local community support networks, the INABCs, that will provide support and ensure the success of the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises, starting with the Unity Gardens that will be home and will be established in each local community across our global network, mostly starting in Africa, but also here in North America and in Asia as well. So the process of establishing the local INABCs is done by taking part in what we call the Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies that we plan to do starting on World Environment Day, June 5th, where our communities will also establish what we call twin trees of peace and reconciliation and twin unity gardens that will be done through the CTP program process of twinning the local community unity garden humanitarian enterprises, and also twinning the local community INAB collaboratives. So we are building here is a global network of local INAB collaboratives, or these INABCs, where all of the members of each local INABC will be interconnected and watching over and talking to each other at the global level, and where each local INABC will have a diverse set of members from the 7 sectors of every community: public, private, civil society, academic, interfaith, finance, and orange economy, or the creative sector, and who will also be watching, promoting, and helping each other and supporting the local female entrepreneurs in each local community, who will be empowered by all of the members of the global network, and where all the activities are also intended to be transparent, and all members of the global network, including all members of the local INABCs, will also be accountable to and for the success of the local collaborative Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise. This means that if the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are living in the local community fail to be successful as they build and run their local collaborative community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise, provided they are fully dedicated to making it successful for all the members of the community, and especially for those who are most marginalized in each of our own local communities, it will not be entirely on their shoulders alone, barring some unforeseen circumstances, of course, like the insurance industry and lawyers like to call it acts of God, but rather such failure could also at least partially be blamed on the local community INABC members for not having lived up to their obligations to support and empower the local community humanitarian entrepreneurs who are building, operating, maintaining, and delivering all the various community programs, events, interventions, goods, and services that will be delivered in the context of their own local community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise. So I'm suggesting as well that every community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise should also be established as a cooperative enterprise or business, where the idea is to set up the local community business as a co-op so that the burden of running the business does not fall entirely on the shoulders of any single entrepreneur, although different business models can be tried in order to determine what business models might actually work best. So again, I know some information about cooperative enterprises in the chat. So the INABCs are established at the local level, where they are leveraging our unique process of community engagement, initially through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation planting ceremonies, but these are followed by ongoing community engagement and interaction through the regularly scheduled events throughout the year, including the coordinated Bubble Fun festivals, which will be done in collaboration with the local INABC members, the CTP program, or for twinning the community activities such as community organized tree planting and or local regenerative public community infrastructure development projects or events, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, the Dream Boards Initiative, done in collaboration with the C4 group members, identification of and engagement with local talent, artists, and creative people in the orange economy for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, especially in promoting the globalization of the global goals and the regenerative economy, during any of the periodic sunlight spectacle and other edutainment events, and any other programs or activities that may be developed in the context of the CSV Gardens and Victory Forests delivered by FBSC Canada, the Climate Smart Kitchens delivered by Kindred Kitchens, the Wheel of Life Farms delivered by an organization called EPWT in Vietnam, the Smart Learning Centers or Climate Smart Learning Centers delivered by the Podnet Co-op. So I reinserted this slide because for those who may have seen this before, the local INAP collaboratives are now being expanded to try and include more critical partners, potentially including the Bridges of Hope organization from Kenya, which would be focused on the training of the FFHEs in the various regenerative and climate smart business and infrastructure solutions, and possibly also BIMA International, the Black Emergency Managers Association, which would help to bring together first responders such as police, firefighters, and paramedics from the local community in order to help prepare the local entrepreneurs and enterprises and potentially position their businesses as hubs for taking action during emergencies or significant incidents that may happen in the community. So again, in the chat, you will find information about our UnityNet VTA group. So you may recall that I had once suggested that we might wish to consider doing a tea diplomacy initiative event during the week of solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination from 21st to 27th March. In particular, I had suggested that we begin on Monday, March 21st, which is also the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. March 21st also happens to be World Poetry Day. And that same day, March 21st, is also the International Day of Forests. So this opened up the possibility for us to do a virtual tea diplomacy event that included having conversations related to methods and processes for enabling and implementing solidarity with the people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, as well as discussing some of the local poets and poetry that have influenced local cultures in each respective community, wherever participants in these virtual discussions might live. And also discussing the importance of establishing productive forests as biodiverse 3D polycultured food forests established as Victory Forest Unity Gardens in all of our local communities, managed in partnership with local Indigenous people and all levels of government in every local community in the country as an essential part of a process of practical reconciliation with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world, one country, one community, and one watershed at a time. I will now play for you the poem that was played during our first tea diplomacy event. It is about 2.5 minutes and was read by the poet Jack Black God, who is from a squatter camp, or VVC, called Diepsloot, north of Johannesburg. I'm not sure, actually, I'm gonna restart this right now. I'm gonna stop the share because I think I did not press when I shared this, say share sound, which I do need to do when I do this. So apologies for that. Hopefully everybody will be able to hear it this time. So we will play this.
We are people of our own color. 7 seas and 1 big ocean. It doesn't matter how big, small, dark, light, Christian or not you are. We all come from the same origins that when we trace footprints lead us to the central heart of Africa. Because Africa should unite and nothing will bite. Instead, we will forever have peaceful nights. Africa uniting wouldn't be bad, instead you will never hurt. Trees! Allow me to be your garden at least, so that I could plant these poetical seed into your cultivative mind with harvestic thoughts of negativities. We are still enslaved by our own memories, Right now, my broken, beaten bone skeleton wants to escape this flesh. My soul is rejecting this temple hospitality one with individual humanity. You see, we were never told about the secret ingredients they used to cook this system. This system was cooked with a foresight traditional pot, but we were never invited into the inns of financial taste. All you did, black child, was to feast on that racism that was served to you on a silver platter, so that mahinya, 7 colors, the shininess of it could blindfold you. Your I have fought has made deals for dessert. But what about the main meal, black child? We are still enslaved by our own memories. See, once upon a time there was I reciting poems with meaningless senses and unengineered sentence language construction. Therapy of my words wounded so many innocent souls I'm lost in translation. Tongue clicks, Ubuntu transplant, guilty to innocent endless transformations. I'm so confused in my lost thoughts. Perhaps I'm losing it, isn't it? Yes. Yes, I've been here and they've all been there, distant relatives. 300 Spartans, the rise of my ancestors to you, godly amen. The last breathless word you would inhale. We are still enslaved by our own memories, yet we are 7 seas and one big ocean.
Apologies everybody for the breaks in that a little bit. I didn't know that if I were to go click on the chat, it would stop the sound. So as we move forward, we have now completed our first inaugural virtual tea diplomacy initiative event on that day, Monday, March 21st, 2022. Took place from 8 a.m. During this virtual tea diplomacy event, we did ask leaders and other high-level decision makers to sit down virtually and have a cup of tea with some of the local or Global Unity Network members at the grassroots level who are living in and doing work in the various marginalized communities around the world. So the conversations that we asked our participants to discuss during those moderated virtual casual conversations between sustainable development decision makers, professionals, and our grassroots members who are doing some of the on-the-ground work in the various local communities of the Global Unity Network were related to those 3 themes that I mentioned and are shown, were shown on the previous slide. The event was co-hosted by the Global Unity Network, which is building our network on behalf of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, along with the Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development and Global Peace Let's Talk, together with the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists. So at this point, I also want to play the music of Luvia M, a song called Thulan Lisio. As this is playing, I will also put the translated lyrics of this song into the chat. Just give me a second here. The song is about 4.5 minutes long. It is our new theme song for the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. We'll play it as well as that poem at every Tea Diplomacy Initiative event. So this is a wonderful song. I was just so happy when we had this added to our mix. Um, this was the partners of this Tea Diplomacy Initiative initial event that we did. The partners included, of course, Andrew Networks, the World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity, or WOPE, the Saga Foundation, Gemma Productions, We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island, Drawdown Markham, Climate Change Solutions Education and Training Hub, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, Carbon Shot Earth Sustainable Marketplace for Climate Solutions, the Unity Women's and Feminists Network, Tots and Kids South Africa, Jafoa, Uganda, the National Federation of Women Farmers and Appropriate Technology Asia in Nepal, TriLife Foundation in Malawi, the Soweto CSI Council in South Africa, Gemma Skaters Youth Development Program, Village Synergy Uganda, the Global Unity Business Group Humanitarian Enterprise and Global Sustainable and Regenerative Development Corporation, together with the organizations that support and promote this ITU Summit event, including the 5 Points Youth Foundation, EdFu Foundation, FutureLit Foundation, and Cycle of Success. Later, I will put in some of the links into the chat. What I also wanted to mention is that we are planning to do at least 2 more tea diplomacy events this year, including the second one on Saturday, May 21st, International Tea Day. You will note that May 21st is also the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which celebrates not only the richness of the world's cultures, but also the essential role of intercultural dialogue for achieving peace and sustainable development. Thus, for our next Tea Diplomacy Initiative event, we will partner with the UnityNet Culture and Diversity members who are supporting the Global Unity Network plans to establish unique and culturally relevant local Unity Garden infrastructure projects that reflect the local cultures of each country, city, community, or eco-village. And at the third Tea Diplomacy event will be on Saturday, June 18th, Sustainable Gastronomy Day, where we will potentially also partner with the Plant-Based Climate Smart Food Network, along with the South Markham Food Security Network and the Virtual Urban Food and Farming Network, or the Urban Farming Network. Again, at a later time, I will put more information into the chat. But for now, I'd like to mention again the collaborative events that we'd like to do in 2022 that are related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, the Unity Gardens Network, as well as the Unity Eco Village Network and the Unity Biodiversity Network, which includes the globally coordinated Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for global cooperation delivered locally in multiple local communities by the members of the Global Unity Network on World Environment Day, Sunday, June 5th, 2022, in a little over 2 months from now, which will allow us to begin establishing a global network of local INABCs, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that will lead the way at the local level everywhere around the world to undertaking the various globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year. So the important launch event will be followed by the second globally coordinated Community Bubble Fun Festival event that will be designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the miraculous properties of bubbles and how to use bubbles to potentially allow humanity to more easily adapt and perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in those areas of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change will be felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, in mountainous areas, as well as in places like sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. And some possible dates for the globally coordinated Community Bubble Fun Festivals could be August 9th, the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, which is also the International Day of Solidarity with the Struggle of Women in South Africa and Namibia, or National Women's Day. Other dates include August 12th, International Youth Day, and August 19th, World Humanitarian Day, potentially opening it up to have a local Bubble Fun Festival on any date between August 9th and 19th, which is an 11-day window. As well, some other key events should take place from Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, through to World Food Day, October 16th, include the third the Ubuntu Summit on October 4th, as we did last year. The day is also the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi and the Blessing of Animals Day, which are both celebrated by the Catholic faith communities. The fourth event is the globally coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum event, designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support achieving SDG 2, zero hunger, and local circular regenerative economies. Along with learning more about the Climate Smart Food Program and all the various components of the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of globalization of the global goals, and the smart virtual infrastructure, the Unity Gardens and the Interchange for Peace VCN, that will allow local community I and ABCs to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, and the related support programs, including the financial support systems that have been promoting through this global Unity network, that we will allow local community members and families to implement these local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and their communities, wherever they might live in the world. We're the primary host for this Global Climate Smart Youth Forum 2022 event. Will likely be Yali International in Nigeria. We'll be working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and as many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network as possible who may wish to contribute. So Yali International is divided into two arms, one's youth education, the other being a leadership initiative. Yali International is managed by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Amadou Monday Amadou from UnityNet Nigeria. And finally, an optional event for this year, as we are still in the process of establishing the INAB collaboratives and local teams, is what we call the Globally Coordinated Community Tree Planting event. Will be designed to establish 3D polyculture food forests in local communities around the world, done in all of the local communities where any local global Unity network INAB collaboratives has been established, where the members of these local community partnerships wish to establish Victory Forest Unity Gardens that are designed for delivering the various global Unity learning programs, like the Twikitani EV Women's Empowerment Program, or the Global Unity 4K Club humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs for educating young people, their families, and other community members about the various ways of achieving food and nutrition security, SDG 2, zero hunger, at the local level, while also implementing so many of the other global goals, such as climate action, SDG 13, biodiversity action, 15, gender equality action, 5, clean water action, 6, clean energy action, 7, peace actions, 16, and no poverty actions, SDG 1 goals, through their local community enterprises that also aim to leave no one behind. And where this last globally coordinated community Victory Forest Unity Garden tree planting event could potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which will likely also include a hybrid and in-person virtual conference event. So this ends my opening presentation. It looks like I could do it in under an hour. Hopefully our guest speaker is on the call.
Yes, he is.
All right, excellent. So this is a little bit of an expanded opening. I wanted to go through these points, however, to make sure that we are remembering all of our other events during the year. So I'd like to ask if Mohammed Mustafa Sanko from Guinea could share his presentation with us and begin his own presentation at this time. Mohammed, are you on the call with us? Are you able to open your microphone? Hello, Mohammed?
he's here. I've asked him to unmute,
Hello?
but I
Hello?
see him here, but
Yes, he's
I asked him
unmuted,
to-
it looks like.
Hello?
Hello, Mohammed.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
We can hear you, yes. Are you able
Okay.
to share your presentation with us?
Yes, of course. It will be shared.
Okay, excellent.
Microsoft Drive. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm finding it a bit difficult.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I will bring some additional links into the chat as mentioned before, for people to find related information about all of the organizations, especially part in the Key Diplomacy Initiative. Well, these links actually can also be found on
Okay.
the original Key Diplomacy Initiative Eventbrite page as well.
Wow.
Having a little bit of difficulty to share your screen.
Yes. Let me